guys. Hope you are staying safe and healthy and also mentally healthy. I know staying sane might be a little bit of an issue right now. Um, Today we're kind of gonna talk about when the apostles saw Jesus, they kind of refused to accept that Jesus was back. And to kind of begin, the question that was asked in the lesson that we're basing this off of was there ever a time that you have, like, you're supposed to recognize someone and you don't? So I was like, yeah, you know what, I have a great example of that. So actually a few years ago, I want to say two at this point in time, I was walking around Sundays and this guy came up to me and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Hannah." And I totally thought that he was hitting on me. And I was like, no, thank you. And walked on by, didn't give it a second thought. My mom was actually in the produce section and she's like dying. She is laughing so hard. And I'm like, "What is your problem?" And she's like, "Do you not realize who that was?" And I was like, "No, like, obviously, please inform me." And she's like, "That was your first love." And I didn't believe her because I was like, I think I would recognize him. Like, we spent a year together. I was crushed when it was over. He was crushed when it was over. Like, it was not like one of those things that I'm like, yeah, in 5 years from now, I'm going to forget what you look like. But I did. So then me in my infinite wisdom decided to go back there and be like, "Oh, hey, I totally didn't like remember you existed," which is not the right way you approach someone who you should have recognized and you didn't. And actually those situations happen to me a lot. But usually I recognize people because I have a really good like picture memory. I have a really terrible name memory. So I am definitely one of those people that like often gets into trouble when like on a daily basis when I run into people and it's like, "Oh my gosh, like Hannah." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I know everything about you. Like, I remember your favorite color. I remember how you hated tap dancing in musical, and I have absolutely no idea who you are." Um, so I kind of want you guys to maybe think about a time that either you should have recognized someone and you didn't, or maybe kind of thinking about like those moments where your brain just kind of blanks on certain things. Um, and then kind of to make that thought process a little deeper, because it's obviously like we want to go a little deeper than that. Have you ever thought that God left one of your prayers unanswered? And then later on realize that he had answered it, it just wasn't in the way that you wanted. I feel like that's also kind of one of those things that has happened to me very often, where I'm looking for a certain type of validation and a certain result. And I mean, I guess praying with an end result in mind probably is not a great thing because it sometimes shocks you with kind of what the end result actually is. I know something that I've often, or something that kind of comes to mind for this is I would, I prayed really hard for like certain relationships to be saved, or for kind of like the strength to pull me through like arguments and things like that. Like especially in high school, I didn't really have like the best friend group. I definitely had some great people, but they weren't like the people that I ate lunch with. And I think we were all really toxic for each other. So when we kind of were all saying our goodbyes for college, I remember that I totally prayed for like, I want us to still have this relationship. I want us to grow and I want us to maybe leave all the petty behind. That was in high school. And what ended up happening is that, like, we don't really talk now, but a lot of what I was praying for did come true is we grew up. We are probably more supportive of each other now than when we were actually really good friends because I look back and I want them to be happy. I want them to achieve everything. And it kind of came with age that I was like, just because we weren't really ever supposed to be best friends and we were always kind of trying to make that work, that's not something that was healthy for us. And when I prayed for like for strength to get through arguments and things like that, I definitely became stronger. It just wasn't in the way that I thought. Like every breakup, every friendship breakup, every pint of ice cream ate on the couch, sobbing with one of my really good friends next to me, singing Disney songs, like every single one of those things made me a better human, a better person, a better Catholic, like just a better version of myself. But they weren't what I wanted. I wanted so and so to apologize to me. I wanted all of these different things, and really none of them were probably appropriate for me to be praying to God about, but you know, you kind of do. And what was answered was the fact that I can handle a lot of those things a lot better. And I firmly believe that that was kind of something that God helped with. I think a lot of the legwork we often have to do ourselves, which can sometimes feel like God isn't answering our prayers because he's making us kind of do the work to get to the result we prayed about. But I think that that's just like how we have faith in God, God has faith in us. And he's going to guide us in the right direction, but we're still going to have to be the people that walk it. So, kind of thinking about all of those things, I invite you to listen to Amy, who will read a passage from the Bible, and then she'll ask you some questions, and then I will be back and I will ask you some questions, and then we will close in prayer.